In the long history of football, there have been some truly legendary offenses. Whether it be Kurt Warner's greatest shoe on turf, the 1998 Minnesota Vikings team led by Randy Moss, or Tom Brady's 18-1 team which came this close to perfection, these teams all had one thing in common. They could sling the ball around at a whim. They picked up huge chunks of yardage effortlessly through the air. But today I'm here to talk to you about a different offense, in my opinion, a better style of offense. A type of offense which thrived off the idea of smash mouth football. 4 yards and a cloud of dust up the middle every single time until the opposing defense wanted nothing to do with them. I'm speaking of the 1998 Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, led by the great Mike Alstott, Warrick Dunn, and Lorenzo Neal. This team pounded their opponents to dust, and I am going to celebrate their offensive excellence here today. Now on paper, this offense was nothing special. They finished 4th in total rushing yards and 12th in rushing touchdowns. This is one of those teams you had to watch to truly appreciate their greatness. Tampa Bay would walk opposing defenses the entire length of the field in 15 to 20 play drives, which broke defensive morale. This allowed them to dominate time possession and take the ball out of the opposing offense's hands. They did this through the strength of their backfield, a backfield led by the great and Hall of Fame bound Mike Alstott. Every single play the Buccaneers could put a train on the field, they did. His style of play was truly perplexing to opposing defenses. Sure, he could carry the ball straight up the middle at you for 3 or 4 yards a pop, but he could also be a devastating lead blocker. And just when you had zoned in and stuffed the box, Alstott would sneak out of the backfield and catch a pass and break away downfield, thanks to him being too strong for measly little cornerbacks to tackle. Behind Alstott a majority of the time was Warrick Dunn. Dunn was coming off an offensive Rookie of the Year in Pro Bowl season and didn't lose a step. He was the lightning to Alstott's thunder. And while Dunn loved going up the middle behind his big lead blockers, he also had the speed to sneak outside and gouge opposing defenses with a long run. Alstott and Dunn were a matchup nightmare and a perfect tandem for each other. And whenever one of those two would get tired, in would come Lorenzo Neal. Neal is best known as the lead blocker for LaDainian Tomlinson's 28 rushing touchdown season. In Tampa Bay, he played virtually the same role. He could get up the middle and lead block for Dunn just as well as Alstott, and could also participate in the most devastating rhino package in football history. Alstott and Neal would line up in the backfield with Neal as the lead blocker. Defensive players forced to play against these two were destined for a long soak in the ice bath. Every time this duo set foot on the field together, you knew you were getting a bare minimum of 4 yards. To truly appreciate the effectiveness of this running game, you've got to look at what they accomplished. They did something no other team was able to do that regular season and beat the Minnesota Vikings. This was that legendary Vikings offense I mentioned in the intro, who had Randy Moss, Chris Carter, and Robert Smith absolutely stuffing the stat sheet week in and week out. Even the Buccaneers defense, which featured several Hall of Famers, was no match for this team. So how did they win? Simple. They didn't let the Vikings have the ball. The Buccaneers had more than a 7-minute advantage in time of possession, and you know exactly how they did it. The Buccaneers ran the ball over 40 times, with Mike Alstott and Warrick Dunn leading the way, having 128 and 115 yards respectively and a pair of touchdowns. Over and over again, the Bucs picked up short yardage, converted 3rd and 4th downs, and scored when they needed to. This led to them upsetting the Minnesota Vikings, who are one Gary Anderson missed field goal away from being the greatest team ever. All thanks to their power run game. Ultimately, this team failed to live up to their full potential due to lackluster quarterback play, but they are so much more than their 8-8 record. What Warrick Dunn, Lorenzo Neal, and Mike Alstott did was a form of resistance against the direction the NFL had decided to move in. While Peyton Manning and Brett Favre threw the ball around 40 times a week, Dunn and Alstott hurled themselves up the middle at defensive tackles and linebackers and fought for every single inch. They were gritty, they played smash mouth football, and they were loved by their fans. And while power runners like Adrian Peterson and Derrick Henry have come along since then, they truly aren't the same. This was the last great conventional power running offense which heavily relied on fullbacks, and they were better for it. The NFL needs to get back to this style of play because their fans love it, and it will be successful if used against these smaller, faster defensive players in the league today. But those are my thoughts on an often underappreciated 1998 Buccaneers offense. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Be sure to like the video. If you subscribe, I am tremendously thankful and forever in your debt. Thanks for watching. Toodaloo.